Hello, everybody. We're getting started.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. My name is Celestine Winfield. Welcome to our Story Slam, presented to you by Freetown Village and Storytelling Arts of Indiana, and sponsored by Maestro Organizing, and of course, WFYI is our media sponsor. Glad to see everyone here. Let me remind you why we are here. It is to tell a true story. I always say, unless your nose starts to grow, we won't know, okay? It should be a true story, told in the first person, no longer than 5 minutes in length. Sure, you can talk longer than that. But we're going to start to deduct some points. Just want you to know, okay? Our theme tonight is fight or flight. You cannot use your phone. You cannot use any notes. You have to come up here alone to tell your tale. And I want you to know that some of you will think, I don't have a story to tell. But let me tell you what will happen. During the course of the storytelling, someone's going to tell a story that will remind you, oh yeah, something like that happened to me. Now, I don't know if you know about flying or not. I'm a pacifist, if you really want to know. I really don't fight unless I get cornered or if I'm scared, okay? And then I'll just pass out. You know, and when I come to, there are people who are injured. And now that I'm old and decrepit, I want you to know that I'm not running, can't fly, my wings are clipped, but I have a cane that I will use. Okay. Just want you to know I ain't scared of nothing. We would like to thank our judges. You'll find out who they are later. And we want to thank our Shannon for running the live stream and taking photographs. And I want you to make sure you got your lipstick on, fellas, too, so that you look good in our pictures when we post them to Facebook and Instagram and other places. Is Greg here yet? Let me look around the room. Oh, no. Anyway, he might be a little late. Whenever he comes, I'm going to make him tell us a story. But now, if you want to tell a tale, you see this lady in this green with this green basket. She is looking for those slips of paper that you have written your name on because you already know you have a story to tell. It's all right. We are your family. Imagine yourself sitting around the kitchen table. Your mama done made a pound cake and you got some ice cream on top of it. And y'all just sitting there, relaxing. This is the atmosphere we have here. So we are all your friends, and we are all interested in the story you're going to tell. I'm going to tell you now what our theme is for September. Persevere. And we will be at Fountain Square Brewing Company at that time. I'll let you know about our upcoming events a little later on. Now, you know, I have been in a couple of fights, mostly when I was younger, and could flee if I needed to flee. But now, one of the things I did wrong was I got into a fight, broke this girl's glasses, and didn't go home and tell my mama I had been in a fight, broke this girl's glasses. It started off innocent enough. I was on my way home. I think I had been after school working on my science fair project. Because, you know, I love school. School was my middle name, and I don't even have one. I want you to know that on my way home, I took a shortcut through this field that kids had made a little path through. And on each side, there were sticker bugs. Anybody know what sticker bugs are? You know those things that would grab your socks and your legs. And there were a bunch of girls coming from the middle school, well, they called them junior high in them days. And they were in my way, and I was in their way. And they wanted me to move, and I wasn't moving. Now, one of my classmates happened to be in that crowd, and they pushed her up front like we were supposed to fight. I don't know what her plan was, but I socked her a good one, cleared the path, and I went on home. I could barely eat the food my mama had made, and it was good. My mama was a good cook. But after I washed the dishes, I asked if I could go visit my friend Rhonda, who lived in the next block. Well, I went down there and I told Rhonda what had happened. Oh, I said, do you think I should tell my mama? And she gave me the worst advice I ever got in my life. She said, no, don't tell her. I want you to know I stewed all night long. But still, I got up the next morning, went on to Daniel Hale Williams School without a word to my mama. And the sixth graders were up on the second floor. And you know how you sit in your classroom doing your morning work when all of a sudden you hear the principal announce, send Celestine Brew to the office. And everybody looked at you and they all wanted to say, ooh. But nobody said a word because our teacher wouldn't allow us to do that. So I walked as slow as I could down those steps, down that long, deserted hallway until I got to the office. My principal was Dr. Carrie B. Dawson, and she did not play. And even back in those days, I was taller than she was. But she just like struck fear in your heart if you ever did something wrong. So I was sitting there waiting for her to call me into the inner sanctum, right in front of the secretary. I want you to know that it wasn't long before Dr. Dawson herself opened the door and told me to come on in. I went in, and who was sitting there but Donna Hall, the girl that broke her glasses, and her mama.
Oops.
Dr. Dawson looked at me and said, where's your mother? And I said, at home. And she was. Dr. Dawson picked up that telephone and she dialed my mama's number by heart. Now, I want y'all to know I had two younger brothers, and that's why she knew it about her. But she called my mother and she told my mother the sins I had committed. And I couldn't hear on the other end of the phone, but I heard my mama say, give her the telephone. Dr. Dawson handed me that black corded phone, you know, that huge phone they had in the office. And I held it up to my ear, and I could hear my mother say, I told you about acting a fool at that school. Now, let me tell you, every day I went home for lunch. I walked home, but these kids had freedom back in them days. I walked to school by myself, and I walked home for lunch, and my mother fixed some good lunches. But that day, I did not get to eat. And in those days, my parents believed in giving the rod, okay? It might be an extension cord, it might be a switch from the tree, it might be a good sturdy belt that we tried to hide as many times as we could. But you had to strip down to your underwear, kneel at the foot of the bed, that's where you got your beat. Oh, you could not, don't let them mess around and hit themselves. If they hit themselves, you're going to get hit again. At any rate, that's what I had for lunch. And I had to go back to school with them wets on my legs. My mother looked at me, she said, I'm whipping you, not because you were fighting. You're supposed to protect yourself. I'm whipping you for fighting and not telling me. So from then on, no matter what them Bloomfield kids did, we always made sure to tell our mama about it first before the law or the principal got a hold of them. And that's a true story. Now we got that lime green basket coming up. But didn't I see Greg come through the door?
I'm here.
Greg, Hi, Greg.
Hey.
Greg, do you want to tell a story?
I don't have a story, but we're beginning a new season, right?
Yay!
And, so I'm happy as Maestro organizing to be helping sponsor Story Slam. It's great to see so many people here. And if you ever need, I'm actually a composer and a conductor, but I also have an organizing business. So if you're sick of your clutter, I'm the guy to get a hold of, all right? So they've got cards here, whatever, but welcome, and so glad that we're going again. It's awesome.
Yay. Thank you, Greg. Now, I'm not going to move out of my seat unless there's a glass of wine. Oh, my wine is here. I know you think I came for the stories. You keep on thinking that. But I'm going to reach into this lime green basket. I'm going to, all but one is folded up. I'm going to spin it around. I'm going to pull out the name. Oh, we got some good stories coming up now. Because I know who this person is. And now, the name I pulled, I know they don't expect to go first, but it doesn't matter what order you go in. All the tales are good. But Brenda Johnson, you come on down.
Brenda?
See, you folded it up. If you didn't fold it up, you wouldn't know. Keep on. This thing. Something.
Brenda, this is your timekeeper right here.
Okay. Let's bring it. How lucky can you be? And I forgot to tell you, when you get to 4 minutes, our timer will signal you to let you know, so you know either to wrap it up or ignore them and just keep on talking.
But you lose 5 points. Go over.
I told them about that.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now, I grew up in a family where fighting was looked down upon. So when you speak in the context of fight or flight, I'm definitely a flight. Although I got through all of my primary grades in college, never being in a fight, I found myself in a situation as an adult, 25 years old, and I had the first fight of my life. So let me tell you how this all happened. I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the Chicago suburbs, and after college, I ended up moving to Los Angeles. Well, when you live in LA, one of the things that used to be a really big deal when the LA Times newspaper came out on Sundays was they would have these advertisements to be on the different game shows. Come down and do a audition. And I auditioned for Wheel of Fortune. And I was chosen. It was so exciting. Now, this is the 80s. Wheel of Fortune was a whole lot different back then. It was a daytime show. You still had Pat Sajak and Vanna White, but every day, instead of getting money, you got prizes. And I was a 3-day winner. That was as long as you could stay. And so I had all these prizes. And I went to Chicago to take the prizes back to my family. Well, I kept some myself, too. The best ones. The trip, all of that. But anyway, I get back to Chicago, and I'm at my mom's house. I go down the street to the neighbor, Miss Betty. And Miss Betty used to do my hair when I was a little girl. And so I got a gift from her out of all of my Wheel of Fortune gifts. And I'm sitting on her front porch, and, we're just sitting there chatting and everything. And all of a sudden, across the street, a few houses down, I hear my sister scream. And she's screaming to the top of her lungs. I looked down there, Miss Betty looked down there, and we saw a boy had taken her bicycle, her Schwinn fancy bike, right? And he's riding our direction. Now, my sister and her friends were sitting up on the porch. And so they're running down after this guy, but he's booking on the bicycle. And at that point, fight or flight. And remember, I'm a lot more flight than I am fight, but it set in. And the next thing I knew, and I had on a suit. I had on a gray skirt suit with nylons because we wore pantyhose in the 80s, you know. And, I kicked off my heels. I ran down those steps. And as that boy passed me, I knocked him over. And so he's screaming. My sister and her friends, they're running. I sat on him. Like I said, I was never much of a fighter. So I'm sitting on him and he's screaming and he's like a fish. He's like his hands and legs. And I'm sitting on. And anyway, the girls got him and they ended up beating the heck out of him. But that was my fight as a 25-year-old.
That was fantastic. I'm trying to remember if all my fights were when I was younger. I don't know. I'm a real pacifist now. I really don't believe in fighting unless you scare me. You know, you should not scare somebody because they will black out. And when they come to, people will be laying around with cuts and bruises. I had a cousin, Emma, tall, skinny. You think you could just go and she'd fall over. But her first husband had said something really wrong to her. And I remember one of their wedding gifts was this huge Lazy Susan. It was orange, had all these little parts to it, sat on a wooden tray. You could spin it around, and they had it on their coffee table. Whatever it was that was going on, she blacked out. And when she came to, the Lazy Susan was in pieces because she had thrown every last piece at her husband, who had to be taken to the hospital for some stitches. That marriage ended in divorce. But I remember we talked about what she had done because nobody could believe it. Now, I know these stories are going to kick a memory in sooner or later. So when you get that memory, you see Jan right there, get that slip of paper from her and fill it out. We'll put it in this basket and it'll be time for you to tell your story. Because our next teller is Chap Flack. Oh, come on, Chap.
Detroit had a reputation, and I told how I moved there from the suburbs, not sure what fight or flight stories I might end up with. And after 10 years there, the most memorable one was on my way home from the Cass Food Co-op. On my bicycle, I'm westbound, just about to the overpass over the freeway, and this kind of nondescript rattletrap van from behind me catches up and slows down to my speed. And now we're on the overpass, and there's just rail and drop off here, and there's this van here, and the window rolls down, and this face leans out and says, "Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?" And years later, I moved to Lafayette. I was at some university function with little catered sandwiches, and there were these little foil packets of actual Grey Poupon mustard, and I grabbed a handful of those and stopped at the bike shop and bought a little handlebar stem bag. So if that ever happens to me again, you know the commercial, I'll say, "But of course." But the most serious, incredible attempt on my life that's been made so far was a few years after Detroit by an insurance company, the one the university picked to sell health insurance to grad students. And they sold it from a little office right there on campus. You could not go there and give them money and get proof that you'd paid. You'd go and get a card. You put the card in the mail with a check or your credit card, and the only proof you had was if you saw that on your next bank statement. And that always worked just fine until just after I'd seen the doc about some newly growing lump on my neck, and the next payment I sent in did not show up on that next statement. And I called the company, and they were cheerful and said, "Oh, just wait for your next statement. It'll probably be on that one." So I relaxed for a month, the way you do when there's a lump growing on your neck. And it wasn't on that statement either. And they were still cheerful and said, "Oh, it'll probably be, just wait another month." And this was about a decade before the Affordable Care Act. So it was not like now where you can have a condition and get insurance. And it was not like way back before HIPAA, when if you had a condition, you'd better just pray you never lose this job or this insurance. It was that decade where it was kind of in between. You could have a condition and get insurance unless your coverage was ever unpaid for 63 days. And that day they cheerfully urged me to just wait a third month. There were not many of those 63 days left, and I used one of those morning to night just on the phone with the company, with Indiana DOI, with federal HHS, and with a lawyer. And my final last-ditch effort I thought of the next day was to go to the university, find the person in HR with oversight over that deal. And he said, "Yeah, we're one of their biggest accounts. Let's see what they'll tell me." And I thanked him and I went home. And I was home when I was contacted by a vice president from that insurance company, very apologetic about this unfortunate mishandling of my payment. All taken care of. Here's a direct number in case anything like it ever happens again. Well, something just like it happened on the next payment I sent. So I used the direct number and asked him to please fix that. And shortly after that, I had good news from the doc based on some new imaging. There was nothing to worry about. It was even going away on its own. And the next payment I sent in went through right away, just like they always had. So I was blessed with two kinds of luck. One, what I happened to have was way less scary than what they might have guessed. Two, the school I happened to attend was big enough to call them up and get through the runaround. They would have just kept giving me for 3 or 4 more days. And so thanks to those two kinds of luck, I'm here to tell the story. And I think about that when I think how we picture threats to our well-being, whether we mostly picture fight or flight scenes with some bad guy out of the shadows, or these like ever more inventive white-collar shenanigans that adrenaline doesn't even help with, that it's so hard to remember going a month or even a week free from. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm good at this. Just don't ask me to stand up quickly, okay? I have to use my cane. We'll be here a minute. Thank you, Jeff. That was hilarious. We all can relate to that story, unfortunately. But right now, I'm going to dig deep into this basket of lime green. I love it when they fold them, because those are the ones that just gravitate to your hand. I'm going to unfold this slowly. See whose name pops up. Hey, Ray Crabtree. Come on down.
Thank you. That made me feel good.
We're in for a good time now. Okay.
So 5 minutes is all I get. Hi, I'm Ray. Like she said.
Unlike certain people in this room, I'm very comfortable with the fighting aspects of things. I grew up in a house with a very militant mother. She always associated herself with the Black Panthers, so that gives you any idea of my house and how I grew up. But the story that I'm going to tell is not an actual story, it's a feeling. A feeling of anger, and a feeling of sadness, and a feeling of running away. For the past 8-10 years, the politics in this country has been something that my parents went through. Some of you might have gone through it. Vietnam, civil rights. I am 42 years old. I'm feeling angry right now to talk about it. The things that I choose to express with my friends, my family, I cannot say in public. Why? Because there's a room like this with people that are not as accepting of what it is that I feel. The moment that I say to you, I feel like burning this
Down.
all of it. January 6th happened, and all I could do was laugh because those people did it wrong. The building was still standing. How are you going to riot and say that this country is no longer ours and we have to take it back and the building is still standing? Burn it down. Because the system is obviously broken. These people went there to fight. I was at work. We stopped everything, turned it on. I'm the only black person that works in my office. And all I could do was laugh because they poop in the offices. That's showing real anger there. Monkeys do that. And I've been described that personally to my face on more than one occasion. Fight or flight really hit me. People have told me to go back to Africa. I will fly back to Africa when you pay for my ticket, pay for my hut. It's going to be on some land, though. I need some land that I can, grow some things on. But these people did this on January 6th. Young, innocent, black men, boys, children that I was once can't go to the grocery store and buy some Skittles, to be stalked, murdered, and then his accusers say, well, I was scared for my life. That young man was stalked. A man dies because he's selling loose cigarettes on the street of New York. I am an angry black man. And I am not going back to Africa because this is my home.
Right.
So with all the white faces in here, I want you to know that faces that look like mine are angry and we're not going anywhere. But I try to be more like my father and be patient and calm and have a conversation. And I hope that this evening, tomorrow at work, this weekend at church, that you let somebody know that this is how I feel. Thank you.
feel, all right? I had a principal who would look at me. I mean, have you ever gone to a meeting and you didn't say a word and they went out and said what you said? Because by the expression on your face, you said something. So I had a principal say to me one time, well, tell us how you feel, Miss Bloomfield, because it just came on out. Thank you for that story. I'm old now, so as an old girl, a lot of stuff I tried to put up with in my youth, I don't do no more. We ain't playing. So we understand how you feel, but I also have a lot of people who are my friends. And if you got a story you want to tell that brought to your mind, my friend, she's picking it. She's got slips. They're blank. Put your name on it. Fill it out. We want to hear your story. But right now, as I take another sip of my glass of wine, Aisha Borrell is going to tell us a story.
All right, so my name's Aisha. I am, today is my birthday, just because I feel like this is going to be interesting. Yes, to all those people who are drinking, raise a glass, enjoy life, have a drink with me. Thank you. All right, so if you haven't realized, I'm 48 years old. I am 60 inches tall, full grown, and I have definitely experienced quite a few fight or flight moments. And I'm going to ask you, what would you like to hear? A story about flight or fight?
Fight.
Okay, I heard fight. So, being about 5 feet nothing, full grown, I used to be shorter, if you could imagine. And when I was a kid, maybe about 3'6", I was constantly getting in fights. People were definitely didn't like me. I didn't know why. People would be like, why are you making that face? I'm like, what face are you talking about? And they're just like, yeah, we're gonna beat you up. So I was constantly like getting beat up. It didn't help either that I had an older brother, 2 years older than me, super popular, super, cool guy, friends with everyone. He'd be like, I'm going to beat you if you don't come out and play with my friends. Because how dare you want to read a book? So I go outside, I play and all that stuff. So where I lived like what's now called like South Broderpool. But at the time it was just like, a neighborhood. And so we lived 2 blocks from the school. School 84 is where I attended. So I'd walk down there. Oh, you went there? So I walked down there every day with my brother. And we had so much fun. Like sometimes, I'd ride my skateboard down there, go to school. The teachers, they were just like, it was the early 80s. The teachers were like, we have the right to hit you guys. And we're going to because that's just how we are. So what the teachers would do is that they were constantly just on us, no matter what. Like I was the kid that was, if you can believe it or not, the bad kid. I was always in trouble, name always on the board and everything. And so I was just like, all right. So the teachers and stuff, one day I thought it's the end of the school year, thank God. And I thought, all right, I've got to start the biggest fight. So what I did was in the middle of like lunchtime, I decided that morning that I had brought with me a bunch of my mother's eggs because I figured she's not going to use that many. Who needs 12 eggs? Oh my God, woman. So I took all of her eggs, I put them into my book bag, and I walked down to school. And so during the lunchtime, I look around, and of course the teachers, they're all, just like trying to be like, okay, it's the last day of school. We know, like, you kids are tired. We're tired too. Just keep eating your little food, whatever. And so I look around, and I throw an egg. I didn't care who it hit. I knew it was going to hit somebody because I had good aim. You know, I had an older brother. So I knew how to throw a good egg. And so it hit somebody and they're just like, what the fuck? And I'm just like, I don't know who did it. I'm just sitting here drinking my milk. And so they get mad. And so again, hit somebody. Again, you hear them, and I'm just like, this is so hilarious. I got 10 more. And so I start throwing these eggs at people. I get up, I'm the kid, I'm like, food fight! And I just start throwing eggs at people, just like missiles. And they're just like, what the heck? Eventually, people got so angry that they started throwing their food. By now, the teachers are like, oh my God, I knew it. And there's nothing they could do. So they're getting slapped in the face with like bologna and stuff. And I'm just like, this is the best day of like the last day of school you could think of. And so I also have shaving cream in my, in my book bag because I was a bad little kid. And I was just like, my dad doesn't need to shave every day, really. And so I start like spraying shaving cream at people, doing all kinds of things. So needless to say, I grew up, I was in quite a few fights when I was a kid. I had a lot of fun. I got in a lot of trouble, suspended plenty. But I swear to God, I still think back to that day at School 84, the last day of school, just cannonballing people with eggs and spraying them with shaving cream, because who does that? I do. Thank you.
Girl, I wish you would have taken a dozen eggs out of my house.
My mom was like, where's my eggs?
That could have been a pound cake. You know what I'm saying? My mother used to make egg pies, and it was a real sweet, like almost a chest pie. Oh no, she knew how many eggs she had. But that was hilarious. Now, on the other hand, I did not do no fighting at school. Because when you were in school, word would get out at what time the fight was going to be and where it was going to be. And it wasn't usually at recess. It was after school so kids could scatter and almost find their way home before the police came. But ooh, girl, if Dr. Dawson had got a hold of you, you'd be a different woman today.
This is why I'm good now.
Oh, okay. Well, if you think of any more stories now, I'm reaching into this basket. This is a lime green basket. And look, they folded this up like so many times. I just had to pick it. Look how little it is. They folded it like 4 times. Let me see who this is, who's going to tell our next story. It's Janice Richardson. Come on down.
My name out of it. And I only did it as a dare.
All right, those are the best stories.
Are they really?
Oh, yeah.
Do I have to?
You don't have to put in this thing.
Okay. Well, I'm microphone retarded. Okay. That's all right. Leave that there. No, sorry, they need the mic.
Use the mic.
Yeah.
You can put it on the
Okay,
stand.
here we go. I'm cool.
Good.
All right, so I worked in mental health. Yes, it's all right. So I worked in a group home. So basically, the secret rule is if anything goes down, you're not covered. But I never understood why they wouldn't do things like put locks on the cabinets, because I had to make sure that the clients, they usually had health conditions, so they couldn't have certain foods that would make them pass out. Many times I would just hear a client pass out because they ate something they weren't supposed to eat. So all that to say, this particular client had a dresser full of candy, Cokes, bread, and she was extremely diabetic. So I felt it was my responsibility to protect her, and I went in and I very gingerly would remove the food. But that caused animosity immediately because she was an adult. And as an adult right now, if I came and took your food, you'd be a little pissed off about it. And so that's why I had issues with them not putting locks on the cabinets. But this particular day, I took the food because I wanted in best interest for the client, right? So I took the food and the client said, bitch. She started with bitch. She didn't say Ms. Bitch. She just said, bitch. And I said, that's Ms. Bitch to you. Just for the record. And she said, I'm going to kick your ass. And I took offense to that. I just really did. And I said, look, we don't have to have a thing about this. All we need to do is make sure that you don't eat these particular foods. And she continued to berate me with those particular types of adjectives. So I said, look, we don't have to go through this. And she said, yes, we do. So she blocked the doorway. Where that was all kind of. And so of course I'm quietly in the back of my mind developing a strategy. And she's blocked the door and she said, I'm going to kick your ass. So it's a fight or flight situation. And I said, well, I got a problem with that. And I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. But if you insist, but I'm going to give you a chance to go ahead and make a different decision. She said no. She was hell-bent on it. She had some ass kicking to do. She had it in her heart. So I said, well, here's what I think we should do. So I took the dresser and threw it down. And I said, well, here's the deal. If you step over the dresser, I'm going to get my money's worth. Okay, that's just all it is to it. So you can kick my ass. All you have to do is step over the dresser. And she said, you know what? I've got something for you. And she left the room. So I thought, that worked. And I quietly said to the back of myself, amen. So I very quickly left the room. And she was outside with a brick going to throw it through my car. And I said, well, now that's a really bad problem. Meanwhile, I'm telling my colleague, would you please call 911? If you could just do that, that would be really helpful. But this person was afraid they were going to be deported. I was like, what the hell? No, you need to call 911 right now. Right now. Just call 911. That's all I need you to do. You need to put the brick down. She wouldn't put the brick down. So I took my foot and made sure she put the brick down. And she goes, so then she leaves, which I don't understand this. She went and got a potato. And I was like, well, this is interesting. I got to see what the potato's about. So I didn't just stand there. And meanwhile, the police is coming. He did call 911. I was like, amen. And he didn't want to take her. So, but meanwhile, she's trying to stuff the potato in my car. And I was like, well, I'm not getting that one. You just got to completely divorce yourself from that one. That's just stupid. So I smacked it out of her hand. And so the police, meanwhile, doesn't want to take her. I'm like, wait, hold up. I'm not getting this. What do you mean you're not going to take her? Here's the situation. I have 10 clients, and I have to prepare food, and I have to make sure that they're safe, and I've got things I've got to bill for. And what I'm going to highly recommend, and sir, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your business, you need to take this client with you so that they can be assessed. That's all I'm asking you to do. And meanwhile, I was speaking into his camera. I thought that might work. And it did. So Fight or Flight says, have a plan. Now, fortunately, she was able to leave and go with the police. But that's a true fight or flight situation because if I have to hit a client, I'm not going to win no matter what. You're not going to win. And then second of all, I would have to kill her. I mean, because I am, if I know I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to get my money's worth. So she left. I'm here to talk to you. Nothing really happened. But throwing a dresser down and smashing rocks out of people's hands that are going to break your car. Those things do work. So anyway, thank you.
Now we know those things work. Thank you so much. That was hilarious. And how big was that dresser? Oh, thank you very much. Well, let me keep this show going, because we've got another teller. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Well, I say that for everyone, don't I? Our next teller is Jen Clee.
Last Wednesday, my baby, my Leo, flew the nest or flew the coop or whatever the expression is. I'm not great at idioms. He went to kindergarten. For the last 8 years, I have been a stay-at-home mom. And at least for the last year, people have been asking me, what are you going to do when Leo goes to kindergarten? And I hate this question because I don't have a plan. And so I'll end up saying things like, I don't know, sit home and eat bonbons or take up day drinking. And the other question that I get is some variation of, are you going to be so sad? And to this, I don't hesitate. I just tell them very honestly right away, not at all. And these moms always then look at me like, they're always moms. They always look at me like I am a monster. Leo and I have a complicated relationship. And it's crazy to say that about a 5-year-old, but it's so true. If he is not snuggling with me, he is screaming at me. And so I thought, I am ready for this kid to go to school full time. But as summer wore on and the closer we got to the first day of kindergarten, he got sweeter and sweeter. 3 things specifically happened. First, he lost, in a matter of 1 week, he lost these top 3 teeth, making him cuter than I have ever seen him in my whole life. Second, he and his brother rediscovered their love of the movie Mary Poppins. So Leo started stepping in time on our couches and trying to recreate Bert's Cockney accent while he sang the entire soundtrack with a lisp because of the teeth situation. And it is shockingly hard to say just a spoonful of sugar without those top 3 teeth. And third, he started coming up to me without warning or reason and just hugging me around the legs and saying, Mama. People continued to ask me if I was sad, and I continued to say no, but less and less convincingly. And then Wednesday morning came, the morning of the first day of kindergarten, and the boys got dressed for school. And for the first time, I saw Leo in his uniform. And it should be illegal to make school uniforms that tiny. It started to sink in. This is really happening. And I'm walking them to school, holding each of their hands. And I'm thinking about the last 8 years and how being a mom has been my greatest dream realized. And how proud I've always been to be a stay-at-home mom. And with Leo going off to school, it felt like my identity was going off as well. I mean, what am I now? Just some weird lady at home who probably eats bonbons. And we got to the school, and I stayed for the beginning of school assembly. And Leo lines up, and he walks off with his class to his classroom without looking back, wearing his tiny uniform and this backpack that is half his size. And he is just flying. And I find myself fighting back tears. That was where the story was going to end with a whole fight or flight thing. But something happened on Saturday. My oldest son, Colby, participated in his first ever sporting event. It happened to be a soccer game, but it could have been anything. There was a lot of jumping around and chanting, "We believe in blue." At the end, everybody got snacks and a Capri Sun. The point is, it dawned on me, I am not a stay-at-home mom anymore. I think I'm a soccer mom.
That translates well. From stay-at-home mom to soccer mom. You're gonna have many more titles, Jen. Many more titles. All with mom. Okay, let me go down to the bottom. That was hilarious. If you have another story to tell, I've got this lime green basket. Uh-oh, another teller. We love it. Our next teller is Charlotte Crabtree. Come on down.
Next week. Sounds good. My table's hot back here. Ray is my son, okay? And the Leo story sparked something. When Ray was in first grade, he came home and he said, "Mommy, there's this girl," and whatever her name was, "and I like her." I'm like, "Oh, how sweet," you know. Ray's got a girlfriend. He likes the girlfriend. And then a few days passed by, and he came home, and he told me whatever her name was. She doesn't like me. She likes someone else. And I thought in my head, "You little bitch." Once a mom, always a mom, and we protect our sons. And then I got to drop a quick dime on Janice. Janice is my best friend. And she's throwing the dresser with the client and all that. But Janice didn't tell you she's working on her 5th degree black belt. She'd have whooped that woman's behind. Okay, this is a story about a beatdown. This was with my first husband. I've had 2. Always said I would have 5. But as you notice, I ain't dead yet. So there is still a possibility. So my first husband, we're college age. We're in school. And well, I just graduated college. And he ran around. And he would be out all night. And I kind of knew, you know. Nobody stays out all night. You know what they're doing. So I got up one Sunday morning, and his story was he was hanging with the boys, and they were high, and so he spent the night so he wouldn't be driving, you know. So that was always his story. So I got up 5 o'clock one Sunday morning, started getting my clothes ready for church, and it dawned on me, just go to the friend's house and verify what you already know. He's not there. So I drive over to the friend's house and down the back where all the possibilities of parking places, and he wasn't there. And then he came home, and he was a real jerk, you know. He was a good-looking guy, and I told him, you know, I shouldn't have to fight for the mirror. You don't even wear makeup. But you know, he was because taken with himself. So he comes in, and he begins to give me a play-by-play of the night before. And then I slipped my hand in the blouse, and I grabbed the left breast, and just breaking my heart. You know, he was my first love. So then he's gonna get dressed, he's gonna go someplace. And his friend and my sister were there at our place, and they're sitting in the living room. And he goes and he starts, and he makes a tub with the bubbles and all that. We didn't have a shower. And a couple people said their age. So I'm 75, so I get to play my senior citizens card. So he goes and he's gonna get in the shower. He's gonna go someplace with his friend. So I'm in the bedroom Then there's the living room. You go down the hall, you get into the bathroom. So he's in the tub and his pants are there and it's got a belt, his belt. I took that belt, pulled him out, wrapped it around my hand, and I went, and he's all over the bubbles and whatnot. I went in that bathroom and he was slipping and he was falling and I kicked his neck butt right there. And I kicked it real good. And then I ran out. I told my sister, I said, you want to go with me? And she jumped up, you know, because they had heard the commotion. She jumped up, we grabbed our purse. I got and jumped in the car and I went and found me a place to live that day. So husband number one down. I love it.
Well, that'll learn 'em. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. All right now. I have no idea what time it is. Anybody know?
It is 7:55.
Well, right now, you don't have to worry. We have not run out of storytellers because Noel Bewley's got a tale to tell. Welcome, Noel.
So my story is not going to be anything like anyone else's, of course. So I observe nature a lot, and I looked out my back door at my kid's swing set and noticed in the sky, boom, feathers everywhere. And a hawk had just hit a dove, flew it up on top of the swing set, and proceeded to eat the dove on the swing set with both my kids looking out going, what's that? And I thought, that's a dove's mistake. And a couple years later, I'm taking a walk through nature, and here comes a hawk. And it's diving, and there's a crow eating roadkill. The crow does not worry about it. The hawk tries to hit it. The crow turns up, opens its wings, and flies right back at the crow. And the crow keeps flying at the hawk. And the hawk hovers a little, waits till the crow goes back down, and dives again and tries to hit the crow. And again, the crow acts like, you're an idiot. I'm as big as you are, and I'm not having any of this. So the crow chases the hawk away and then flies back down and has his dinner. Well, I moved to a new house, and we have a pond not too far away, and we have these mallards. And they waddle through the high grass that I didn't mow, and they look like chips coming through the grass in some kind of formation for something. And they go to the bird feeder and start eating. I look a little later, and there is a male mallard flat on its belly with a red-tailed hawk on top of it with its claws in its back. And the mallard is not moving. And we are sure it's dead. It's not going to move, and we're waiting for the destruction. And my wife, of course, wants to videotape this. So she sneaks out, takes her camera, and gets about between here and chat, and is taking pictures of this, some video, and the hawk releases and moves up about this far from that mallard. The mallard is not dead. By the time the hawk's claws get up, the mallard is gone. And I mean gone, out of sight. And the hawk has no idea what just happened. Because you need to freeze sometimes before your flight. And it worked perfectly for that duck, and it did not for the dove because he hadn't learned that lesson. So sometimes you have to fight, sometimes you need to take flight, but freeze first. Thank you.
I'm gonna remember that. Freeze first. I'd like to let you know that on September 5th, here are stories, the life and afterlife of incarceration. Where is that? Is that going to be at
Ujamaa Community Library.
Ujamaa Community
Ujamaa Community Library
at Flanner House.
at Flanner House. September 28th, our first teller is coming to open our 37th season. Echoes of Ancestors, told by Mara Menzies at the Eugene and Maryland Glick Indiana History Center. If you go online, you can find tickets. October 28th and 29th, we're bringing back our spine-tingling tales. Yeah, we used to have it in the cemetery. We're not in the cemetery anymore. Let that go. It will be 2 nights at the Phoenix Theater. There'll be 8 storytellers on the stage to tell ghost stories to get you ready for the next holiday, Halloween. Right now, I'm reaching down into this lime green basket. One of my favorite colors. Oh, 2 of them were stuck together. Almost made a mistake. Right now, Danny Clee is going to tell us a story. Yay! I just love a family affair. I don't know why I'm female.
Just don't point it toward the speaker.
So our 5-year-old son, Leo, really likes to chase after any type of creature that's out in nature. If there's a bird, he's going after it. Takes flight immediately. Squirrel, doesn't matter. Bunny, he's going after it. And anytime he does this, it actually gives me flashbacks because that's exactly what I did when I was his age. I remember being in the back, my backyard and going after a bunny just to let it go across and right back into the patio. And also squirrels, trying to go after those, but easily skip away. The ones that were the most difficult ones were the birds, because they would just hop around and you thought you really had a chance at getting them. But very quickly they would go into flight. There was one time actually my parents took us to Disney World. I was 4 years old. And we were there for the main parade on Main Street. And I was really excited about this parade. But there was a bird that had caught my attention. And so immediately I got up, sprinted as fast as I could, and then blacked out. I had failed to realize that there's a small wire rope fence that was blocking me from the grass. So when I woke up, the parade was over. I was told it was very good. So I continued my birding, at least in this way. And about 7 years, I would say, is the height of my birding. And I'm going after any type of bird I can go after. Blue jay, cardinal, robin, it doesn't matter. And one afternoon, I see a robin that is slowly hopping around. And I get to that robin closer to any other bird that I've been able to get to. And I couldn't believe it because I was finally able to pick it up. And when I was able to pick it up, I realized why I could pick it up. It's because its wing was broken. Mm-hmm. So I decided to not want to become a bird catcher anymore. I was going to be a bird saver. I had watched Sesame Street. And so what Sesame Street taught me was that birds like a pine cone, peanut butter, and birdseed. I had peanut butter. So without my parents knowing, I snuck into the house, got a shoebox. I did not have a pine cone. I did not have a birdseed, but I did have a piece of bread, and I had peanut butter. So I put peanut butter on the bread, put the bird securely into the shoebox, and very quickly it became night. And that must have taken me a really long time. I put the shoebox underneath the bed. We said our prayers before we went to bed. And I was really excited because I felt like I was going to help this bird. When I woke up, what I expected to find inside the shoebox was a bird that was healed and nourished. When I opened the shoebox, what I found was a bird that had been fighting for its life and was smothered in peanut butter. So I hope when Leo catches his first bird, that he doesn't come to me in order to take care of it.
I'm always going to remember smothered in peanut butter. We have a public service announcement.
Hi everyone, my name is Stanley Dumernay. I'm not here to tell you a story. You've been entertained with incredible stories tonight. I just have a quick announcement about a great story. It's called Sign of the Times. It's actually a play that we're putting together at Freetown Village the weekend of September 13, 14, and 15. And it's about how women in America got the vote. So I've got the flyers here. I'm going to put one on each table, and you'll have all the information. And we're expecting all of you and your cousins to come to the play.
And your aunties too. Okay? Thank you so much. Well, it's only 3 in the basket, but who knows how many we have left. We're still breathing. Okay? That's going to be a wonderful event. Are my judges ready for the next hour? Well then, Debbie Gully, come on up. I think I got the right name.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. So I'm going to call my story Fight or Insight. Okay, so just so you know, I'm a relationship coach, which makes this even funnier. So how many people here have ever been married or in a long-term relationship? Yeah, okay. You're going to understand this. So you know how it's when you're in an important relationship, it's like the small things that become the big things. You know how that is? Okay, so this story is about a small thing that could have become a big thing. So my husband and I used to have a little habit where in the evening after dinner, we would have like a little bedtime snack. And it changed over the years. We had different things for our snacks. So at one point, my husband decided to start having a banana. So every night he'd go in the kitchen and he'd have a banana. He'd eat it in the kitchen. And then I'd go in to get my snack. Here's what I found. A banana peel on the counter. Now this is unusual because my husband
is a very neat guy. And he doesn't like things to be out of order. And, you know, he picks up after himself. He picks up after me. That's the kind of guy he is. So to see this banana peel was a little confusing to me, but I didn't think anything of it. Next day I went in, after he had his snack, I went in to get mine, and there it was again, the banana peel on the counter. And it wasn't just tossed, okay? It was laid out very nicely on the counter. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And night after night after night, I'd go in the kitchen, and there it was, this banana peel. And this little thing started to become a very big thing. And it was really annoying me. To the point where I started telling myself this story, and I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but I started telling myself that my husband was doing this on purpose just to annoy me. Okay, you know what I mean by that? Yes, okay. So at that point I realized I was getting, you know, into trouble, and I had a couple choices to make. I could pop, which is what I really wanted to do, just like pop and go, what the hell? I mean, I want you to understand, the counter is here, the garbage can is here, not a big distance. So it was very, you know, I thought, okay, I could pop and we could have a fight, or I could try something new. And I was just learning how to be a relationship coach and learning some strategies. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll try a strategy that I know on my own marriage. Why not? So I decided the next night, if the banana peel was still there, that I would try to change my attitude toward the banana peel. So I went in the kitchen, and there it was, laid out in its yellow splendor. And I called out to my husband, honey, you left the banana peel on the counter. I love when you do that. No response from the living room. Next night, I went in there. It was still there. I said, honey, it's there again. It's so much fun when I walk in the kitchen and see the banana peel. I did this for a week. I never got a response from my husband. But here's what happened. After about a week, I started looking forward to seeing the Is it going to be there? And it always was. And so I started changing my feeling about the banana peel and my husband. And it turned into this cute little quirky thing that my husband did. I never talked to him about it. He had no idea about this great experiment that was happening in the kitchen on my behalf. And I learned a lot about relationship from that experience. It helped my marriage, and it also informed my work as a relationship coach. And now bananas have a special place in my heart.
So does this mean you threw away the banana peel? That's what I was wondering. Did you throw away the banana peel?
Eventually he stopped having bananas.
Oh, okay.
How many banana peels were on the counter at that point?
Just one at a time. Oh, I guess I put it in the garbage. I guess that's You were picturing all these bananas.
But we wanted to know what happened. Like banana pudding, you know. There's something now that says you're supposed to boil the banana peel for some kind of tea. We wanted to know. Well, our next teller is Donna Jones.
I used to be a stagehand in my working career, so I know how to do this. When I was a little kid, my mom and I would go get our hair done every 2 weeks because she had a sister who graduated from the Madam Walker School of whatever they called that. Okay, thank you. I needed that word, cosmetology. And so she had her own shop. So we would do this every 2 weeks. Now, I know most of the black folks in here understand the press and curl and all of that. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with this cultural phenomenon, what you do is you sit, and you really don't want your parents to do this, but my mother did it on more than one occasion. You are sitting in a chair. Your hair's been washed, it's been dried, and they take a hot comb that has been baking over an open gas flame to your head. Now, one of the things that they do ask you to do is, gotta pull those ears down, because you really don't want that hot comb to hit those ears. But this is just a preface to the fight. Because now, I went to Flanner House as a little kid when it was on 16th Street across from Methodist Hospital. And they had this huge, and I mean huge, sand pile. It was actually a sand pit. And there was this little boy. Now, he was smaller than me. And he was a real bare-skinned little black child. He was a smart ass. And he would throw sand at me. Now, and also know who you are. I can see the black in me go, I know where this is going. You do not want to get sand in your hair. Because that shit ain't coming out. And your parents will be, oh my God. He did that. I went home. My mother looked at me and said, if it happens again, your behind is mine. And I thought about that, and I'm like, okay. If I'm going to die, someone is going to go before me. So we go back to the next day. He throws sand at me. I chased him off that playground, out of that pit, down the hall, out the door, caught him up against the fence. I wrapped my fingers around his throat, and he turned the color of that bottle. It took 2 adults to get me off of him because he was going to die that day. Because I knew that when I got home, I was going to die. So I really wasn't looking forward to it. Like I said, somebody was going to go before me. Thank you.
Oh, I was having flashbacks.
Donna, you have to tell them why. Why? Because we cannot wash that hair every day and then get it pressed again. They didn't understand. I didn't have water, and I had to explain it.
Yes. Oh, sand in your hair. That's why you don't see black women out there around not doing nothing to get our hair wet.
No.
Because you can get your hair pressed and go out in the humidity and it will go, and your fro would be back. And this was before they had afros. Okay? Yes. And my mother would do my hair. Oh my goodness. And you couldn't move. And she would forget what she had in her hands. And she would hit you with that hot straightening comb. Okay? And then you would go to a predominantly white school with a burn on your forehead, and people would think you had been abused. When all you had was you got your hair did. piece, my basket, kind of empty. So if you got a story you want to tell, Jan, raise your hand. If you got a story, you can fill it. There's some people raising their hands. Give them a blank slip of paper because we got some more stories about fight or flight. Now it's hard not to use the microphone. I got one more. I got one more here. This is what I'm preparing myself. Uh-oh. My judges are ready to hear Sonali Gurper. Did I say that right? Yes. Hey! Welcome. Oh, you can't handle papers with me. I'll hold them. Can I see the cheat sheet? No, you know this. They don't know. You do.
I was just praying that the cheat sheet would be allowed because I'm so nervous.
No, we are your family.
I have what's the closest thing I've ever seen to an American tall tale, but it's true. My name is Sonali Gurpur. I was born and raised in India. I was born in 1966. The first 10 years of my life, the first 7, I was the only child and only grandchild on both sides of the family. Very spoiled. And then the cousins came along and it was a fun childhood. The worst thing that happened in my life in the first 10 years was that I lost my grandmother. The next 10 years, again, we moved a lot because my father was in the army and then in the police. And I met so many absolutely wonderful people all over India because we moved a lot and we socialized a lot. And all of this ties into what's happening today with my fight or flight situation. I got married. It was an arranged marriage, a very quick decision. And we had 3 kids. And as the kids grew up, my husband and the middle child was just having so much conflict that physicians and police started telling me, you got to pack and go. There's no room in any of our shelters. It's a year's wait. You have to pack up and go. And in that time, someone I used to have a crush on when I was 19, but I never met. He was my dad's trainee, so I'd seen him, but I'd never met him. He comes up with this plan that I should move back to India. Imagine this, I've never talked to him, but he talks to my dad about moving me back to India, and I become a Muslim so that he can marry me. And I'm like, that's a harebrained scheme.
Yeah.
My family is already half Hindu, half Muslim. If I add a third religion, I can't cope with all of the customs and traditions. I can't do it. I'm not going to India. So I got an offer from a friend in Texas. So I moved from Georgia to Texas. So that fight or flight got resolved by simply moving out of town. And then I started to learn about fight or flight. As I started to calm down, I learned that fight or flight also has a third response, which is a freeze. And recently I found out there's a fourth response. It's the fawn. And then like, oh my God, no wonder so many people think I'm a people pleaser because sometimes I fawn. And now I've become a BITCH about it. If somebody needs to hear it, they hear it. So I'm telling you a story that is very medieval at one end and very futuristic at the other end, mainly because of my occupation. So when I was in Austin, Austin is a very high-tech city, and one of my jobs there was doing evaluating Facebook posts for violations. And it was weird. When I got there, I had to tell them that there's this guy in India who's hacked into my
all of my accounts because they reserve the right to check your home internet usage. If your kid's watching porn, they know about it. It's that intrusive. They don't just want to know what's happening on your Facebook. And I'm like, they're going to find out about the crazy Indian person. I refused, but he's having these, oh, she refused me thing. Because he's a cop, he has access to Interpol tools. So he's using his Interpol tools and the Pegasus tools to track me. So he would have had to label me a terrorist to do that. But he's doing it. So I have to tell Facebook now because I don't want Facebook to die of a heart attack. And about day 3, I went to them and said, so what happened about the hacker thing? And the guys went pale. The IT guys, security guys went pale. The next day, there was a senior IT guy from Facebook headquarters flown in, and he was following me everywhere. Breakfast, he was there. Work, he was sitting behind me. Lunch, he was sitting behind me. I'm like, what's going on? And then, after 3 days of that, they gave me a sheet with an IP address on it and a picture, and they told me, go to this guy's website and type in this IP address there. But my computer crashed before I could do it. But I had just enough time to see who this guy was. And he was a member of parliament. And I was so embarrassed that a member of parliament from India was doing this to Facebook. I just crumbled. I couldn't even tell the FBI. Because by this point, I'd been reporting to the FBI once or twice a year about the hacking. Because by then, because my dad was a cop, Indian police at the highest levels had gotten involved. My dad had trained most of them. They're all grown up and gone on to become the equivalent of the chief of the FBI, chief of NSA, that kind of thing. So they were all his students. They were like, what in the world is happening here? I had no clue. And this man started calling all my neighbors and my ex-colleagues, my children's doctor. And one day I got a really fed up call from my children's doctor's office. He said, you will call the NIH and report the hackers to them. Here's the number. Okay, I'll do it. So anyway, I get my next job. It's a contract position at Google. And I get in there only because the person doing the hiring was ex-military, and during the interview I told him about the hackers. He didn't care, so he hired me. Prior to that, I'd been doing interviews, acing my interviews and not getting hired. If I called them to ask them how are things going, I was hoping to hear back from you, they would just slam the phone down. I had no clue that the hackers from India were calling them and saying all kinds of things about me. Don't hire her, she's a whore, she's a drug addict, don't mess with her. That was like the height of you refused me. And this guy's married to my classmate. And this classmate called another common friend of ours and she said, why don't you come to India for 10 days, rent a hotel room, FUCK for 10 days, and go back to the US. I'm like, are you insane? And I stopped picking up the phone. And in the meantime, I had moved from Georgia to Texas, so I didn't know that they had followed me on the way to Texas through the internet. So over time, what they've done is they've stolen my ID and they've created a fake conservatorship in India by first creating a fake dual citizenship. And they signed me up with a project at Google that has gotten infiltrated by guess who? The Russian mafia. So now the Russian mafia is threatening to kill people at Google. The Indian mafia is threatening to kill me. And nobody knows what to do. So we are all in a fight or flight situation. So I started talking about it. And they're like, don't go anywhere, don't meet anyone, don't even think about talking to anyone. I'm like, I haven't been out of the house. I haven't been to any of my meetups for months. I'm going out. So they said, okay, we're not paying you anymore. So they're trying everything, withholding salary, and the terrorism. What's happened is that there's a medical startup that uses military laser technology. It's remote. They can fix several things remotely using satellites, I suppose, energy weapons, drones. So I became the guinea pig. Because remember I told you my dad was a cop in India? So between 1976 and 1978, he used to work with a whole bunch of KGB guys. So they looked me up. They told me they went to Russia. They looked me up in the KGB database and they got the names of everybody my dad knew. And they went through my address book and found out that Sergei Lavrov is friends with my uncle and aunt. Because when he was a student, his part-time job was working for my uncle and aunt's bed and breakfast in Exeter, UK. So they were like, she's the one. So now the mafia is trying to demonstrate to the FSB that we can kill your friend's daughter in public so we can kill you. So I have this atrocious fight or flight situation. If anybody knows anyone in the American Bar Association, that would help get the word out to more lawyers, more judges, because they have managed to fool a few of them initially. And then the federal judge got involved, tried to rewind, because these guys, they apparently stole my blood sample from a medical lab and planted it on a crime scene. But because I'm under surveillance, they know where I am. So when the cops took the surveillance videos of me, and they're like, she wasn't there at that time. So then they worked backwards from it, and then they said, this is what happened to you. I'm like, oh my God. If it's happening to me, it's happening to other people. So if anybody has contacts in the American Medical Association, please let them know that all our medical records are in India and they're changing them as they please. They went and changed mine. So if it's happening to me, it's happening to other people. Your physicians, your pharmacists, they need to know. If you have any contacts in, say, Raytheon, talk to them about weapons technology being used in medical technology, and it's undetectable, it can kill, and no one would know how it's happened, how it's done, especially because they can also change your medical records. They can just match up the cause of death with the altered medical records, and no one would even think that you need an autopsy or anybody needs an investigation. So right now, because of the whole gang stalking situation, apparently the member of parliament dude, he hired the Russian mafia gang stalked me in the US because they had access to me because of my work. And now the government is slowly trying to detangle the whole situation here as well as in Russia and in India. Initially, they were like, we are so sorry, we love you so much, we've known you as a child, but to us it looks like you're going to have an early death. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. You're going to set yourselves free from the mafia, and in the process, you're going to set me free from the mafia. Because it's very embarrassing. We can't tell people that the mafia is controlling us. So that involved my dad's colleagues and his trainees who then grew up to be, head of such and such. It involved them coming to terms with the fact that they were under control, coercive control. It involved the FSB guys I know coming to terms with the fact that they are under coercive control, and the FBI guys. And how did they pull this off? Private investigators and cash. So they put private investigators on the FBI agents who were monitoring my case to see if there was any compromise. And they found it. There was one guy who was cheating on his wife, and they had the tapes for it. So now he sat on the evidence for years. that was a stick half of the problem. What was the carrot half? They gave him some money and they told him they will give him $1 million job at Google. That same carrot and stick is being applied to me. They're telling me, come work for us, come endorse the program, come say it's been wonderful and we're wonderful people and we've treated you well. We'll give you money. If you don't, we will keep harassing you and torturing you with these energy weapons at my brain, at my tummy, all over my body. They said it's a weight loss program, but I've only gained weight. They said it's a longevity program, but if I die in the next 5 years, you should know it's because of all the radiation I've been exposed to. So I'm again in a fight or flight. They've given me a deadline of the 6th of October. They said you either come with us 6th of October or all hell will break loose. So I'm trying really, really desperately to get the word out to the American Medical Association, American Bar Association. So far, I've talked to Senator Brown's office. If you have any contacts in the offices of elected representatives, please, please, please tell them this is happening to me and please look for a solution. Because it's so international, it can only go through the FBI and the CIA. And it can only go through people who are on the right committees in Washington, D.C. And that's my terrible, terrible fight or flight thing. I don't know what to do next.
Hey, I got a question.
Yes.
Should we not air this?
You can air it. I've been getting death threats every day for so many years that it is happening me even while I was coming with the intestines. So that hoping that I would have had to run to the bathroom while I was speaking. So it's ongoing. If anywhere they want to kill me, I might as well go out with my story.
How many are left? Is this the last one? This should be the last one. I'm running out of power.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much. I hope everybody who heard that knows to spread the word, spread the word. Stephanie Edwards is our next teller. We have our goldenrod sheets on the table. Fill those out so we can have a drawing. You're going to win a good book, I believe, or two. I would like to thank you for coming. This has been a fantastic telling. I have learned so much.
I'm also short, so I don't want to tell you anything about short folks. I don't want to take away from those sweet little babies that lost their teeth and everything. My 7-year-old granddaughter is just growing a tooth. She looks like she's got just a vampire thing coming out of her top lip. But I'd never tell her that she's not as cute as the little 5-year-old. I have a dilemma because when you say fight or flight, can you do it for somebody else? Because I want to tell you what, parents will do some terrible things to their children. I remember when my oldest daughter, who is now a grandmother, she was about 3, and we rescued this little puppy. He was a little girl puppy, and she looked like a little poodle, and she had a little brother. Her name was Winnie, his name was Pooh. So, we've got this sweet little dog, and he grew up with these kids. She used to sit up straight, and my ex-husband would tell her, Dee Mao, because he's a Vietnam veteran, and the dog would do something stupid. He thought it was wonderful, but anyhow. So when we got this dog, she might have been 6 months old, 7 months old. She was real puppyish, just leap on you and lick you in the face and do all kind of things. Well, we had another daughter that was 7 months old or so at that time. And back in the old days, they let you sit your kid just down in the car. You get an accident, the kid flies out the window, nobody would even know it. So this poor child, we put the 7-month-old on her mom's lap in the front of the car. We put the 3-year-old in the back seat with this puppy. This child rode home like this in the corner, and she was looking at the dog. Every once in a while she'd look at us and like, why did you put me in the back with this thing, and this poor child, she was so traumatized. We were sitting in the front seat laughing like we were stupid because the dog was killing her. But we kept Winnie until that child, my oldest daughter, went away to college. We had this dog for years, and every time she came home from school, she'd say, "Where's Winnie?" And she'd play with the dog, and the dog loved her. One day she came home, and we knew Winnie was old and had walked away and never came back. And we knew that she was dying because she had that behavior, and she looked like she had a tumor on her. We were just really, how are we going to tell Melanie that this dog is gone? And when Melanie came home that weekend, she said, "Hi, where's Mel? Where's the baby dog? Where's our doggy? Where's Winnie?" And she sat down and smiled, and everybody turned around and looked at her. And we had big tears running down our face. And we said, "We're so sorry. We don't know where Winnie is." And she said, "I knew I shouldn't have gone to school. Lost my dog."
Y'all didn't do like the old folks who say the dog bought the farm, okay? Or, okay. We're collecting our goldenrod forms so that we can have a drawing. I'd like to remind you that our next telling, the topic is Persevere. I had a friend who has a friend who works for the FBI. And, I believe that ignorance is bliss because you don't really know what people are doing in their jobs for our country. So, that story about the CIA and the FBI, that kind of hit me hard because I know people who work every day trying to keep us safe, and we just don't understand. If you don't have somebody in the Army, you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what it means to their family. If you don't have someone who's in law enforcement, if you don't have someone in the CIA or the FBI, I admire those people who do those hard jobs, but I just really don't know. My friend, her friend, when she would get the signal, her friend would be over in Iraq or Afghanistan, and I'd look and see pictures of her as she was arresting somebody, or down in Mar-a-Lago where they had to go get the boxes. And it was like, I admire those people. I don't want to say I thank you for your service, but that's a really hard job to do. So I hope that you get some satisfaction, and I'm going to have to follow you, girlfriend, and make sure you're okay. All right, September 5th, here are stories. The life and afterlife of incarceration. And I forgot already where it is.
Ujama Community Bookstore.
At the Flanner House.
Yeah.
September 28th. Get your tickets now, people. Our story is Echoes of the Ancestors. October 28th and 29th, Spine Tingling Tales at the Phoenix. And I want you to remember, I think I was looking for that. Sign of the Times, Freetown Village at the District Theater, September 13th through the 15th. It's a powerful one-woman show shining light on the women's suffrage movement and the battle for women to gain their rights at the ballot box. How appropriate. How timely. Hope to see you there. Listen, I want to thank my tellers tonight. We've got a group of people from this current mentoring session who came out tonight and told stories, and I thank them so much. You're so brave. Now they all disappeared on me. I don't see a one. Did they know we're giving out awards? Oh, there's one. Okay. There's Brenda. Okay. I'm seeing my people. At this time, judges, are you ready? Not yet. Our next session is going to be at Fountain Square.
September 21st, 18th.
Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. At the Fountain Square Brewing Company.
Yeah.
Okay. Persevere. Ooh, this is it. I'm going to reach in. I'm going to jumble them all up. We don't have a precious little child in here, innocent child who could reach in and pull out the prizes. Look at those great books Jan has in her hand. The winner is Brittany. Is it Shellhouse? Hey. Hey, Brittany. She's our winner. Let's do two. You get to pick the one you want first, okay? Okay. And these are our books from If These Walls Could Tell, or If Stage to Page. You get to choose which one you want. They are both good. There's a ticket tour. You gave them tickets too? Whoa, I didn't know about that.
Ronan's not here to tell me nothing.
Okay, Ronan, okay. Well, let me reach in and let me grab another one. Oh, this one is folded up. You know what I tell you about the ones that are folded? Chat Black. You're a winner. Stage page. You've always been a winner to me, Chap. Always, always. Okay, have my judges gotten the results yet? They're working on it. They're still working on it? Well, listen. You were fantastic tonight. I want to hear you again. I want to see some of these same faces in the place. If you have an idea or a suggestion of where we could go for another session, a nice room like this, where we didn't disturb the rest of the guests and they didn't disturb us. Because when we go, we take over, okay? Because there's no quiet in my whole body. I'm looking forward to seeing you on September 28th. That's our first storyteller coming in. And I don't have any more fighting stories left. You took the fight out of me.
We're almost ready.
I'm done, okay? Oops. I'm trying to pull this over a second. Okay, I'm done. I'm trying to put this in another way. Well, listen, I've had a fantastic day today. I've not done anything constructive. Came here, had a glass of wine. My wine keeper, I got to hook her up. Maybe I want some pizza next, but I'm so happy to be here. All right. You know, we believe in giving you cash money when you show up. But sometimes we can't do that because we got more winners than we anticipated. That's because third place is a tie. And let me tell you who the tie winners are for third place. Danny Clee and Brenda Johnson. We're going to take pictures at the end. Congratulations. Our second place winner is Debbie. I forgot your last name already, Debbie. Gully. And our first place winner is, there's no nepotism up in here. Jen Clee. Congratulations. I think it's because you had such a good subject. If you guys will come on over, we will take your picture. And I'd like to thank you for coming out. Danny, we're going to have to send you a check.